Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live show for the death of Jane Lawrence. We're hosting it on my channel this time. I know usually we do it on Kristen's, but she wasn't able to make it, so we just kind of switched it over. So anyone who's watching, welcome. We're just going to kind of like go around and introduce all the members. Want to start with Sarah?
Sure. Hi, my name is Sarah. I have a booktube called Sarah's Reading Nook. And I'm actually just looking at my cat right now, Olivia, who's just jumped up here on cue. We read together and we like to read books. So,
Hi, Olivia. I'm Laura. I have a somewhat neglected booktube channel called Laura Reads Pages, and I like to read lots of different things. So, yeah, that's me.
I'm Angela, and mine is Angela Rose Reads, and basically ditto to everything Laura just said.
Okay, well, for the month of April, our book club pick was The Death of Jane Lawrence. It's kind of a gothic horror book. And I feel like it's very hard to describe kind of what it is about, but essentially we are following this woman who does not want to move, and her choice to avoid having to move is to get married. So she seeks out a marriage of convenience with the surgeon, essentially like the doctor of the town that she lives in, and he agrees to this marriage, and she will be kind of his assistant, but the only rule is she can never go to his house. And of course, she ends up going to his house, and that's kind of where it starts. So anyone else have anything to add to that?
No, that was perfect.
That was really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what time, I did not look this up, but anyone who's like historically savvy, what time period is this?
I know, right?
I think it's just after, so they make references to her having been sent to the country during the Blitz. So it must be she must have been a child during the Second World War, so it must be the 50s, is what I'm thinking.
It was World War II they were talking about then.
Yeah, it's around there, I think, because I had some issues also trying to figure out the timeline, but then I did because I had this whole list of notes like, this is inaccurate because history, and then I was like, wait, I'm totally in a different century than I thought it was. So.
Well, I think it was odd that like you don't usually hear a lot of Gothic stuff you associate with like an earlier time period, I think, and because it was the medicine even felt so
primitive.
Yeah, medieval. Like, that made it really confusing in terms of the time period. I thought so as well.
The medical part was like wild. I was trying to make sense of it. Oh my gosh.
I can't wait to hear Sarah's take on this.
And I can't wait to hear Stephanie's. Like, what?
Where they didn't wear gloves? Like the lack, I get it. Like I totally get the time period, but did that just absolutely drive you nuts that they did not wear gloves?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh, the pain.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like your hands are inside someone else's body and no gloves.
Right? Oh, it hurt my heart. So much of it did.
I know. There was so much of it that I'm just like, oh, I can't.
The medical part. I just had to like turn off a part of my brain that just didn't want to be turned off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. It's just like, stop it. And they're like, wash your hand, or like, and they're like, no time to wash your hands. I'm like, there's always time to wash your hands.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, Semmelweis introduced this for a reason. It's like,
I know.
Same with Lister. Like, come on.
Like, trust me. You always want to take that couple minutes.
Yeah, because I was reading it like, when was this? I was like, is this like before the 1800s or something like that? And then I was like, no, this is like mid like 1900s or whatever. And I was like, this is wild. But I feel like it's like set in like an alternate like history, and I don't know.
It almost feels a little, because I'm not super familiar with that area, and maybe it's their names for things, but some of the names for places I didn't recognize, and I feel like I would recognize them better during that time period.
I think they were invented, all the places.
Okay.
So you're
'Cause
right.
I think they were.
I think you're right. It is sort of a little bit of an alternative reality.
Yeah.
Even
I
in
mean,
the
not
journal
just for the obvious reasons, but also like from the get-go. Yeah.
Yeah, even in the journal entries, it keeps leaving out a year. It'll say the date, but then it won't add the year. So maybe it's not really supposed to be very specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, and I feel like that felt fairly confusing to me, and I don't particularly like that writing style choice, because I think it kind of removes you a little bit from the story when you're trying to figure out, like, okay, where are we? What is it? Like, you kind of need to make it clear that this is my own made up stuff. It doesn't follow any Earth timelines or follow Earth stuff. Like, you can't really have that in between. I think it's kind of confusing, but that's just me.
I felt it was disorienting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
For me, what ended up happening is what was disorienting to me, because I was expecting a gothic, like low-key horror kind of, and then it was like, oh no, we're gonna go somewhere else with this, and that was what was disorienting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that.
I was also, Angela, expecting something like creepy, but not so gory, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even I work in pathology, and there were parts where I was just like, come on now, really? Like, what is this?
Yeah. I actually expected it to go a different direction as well, but I did expect it to be quite gory going in, knowing that he was a surgeon. I kind of expected more along that route, actually. That was my expectation going in. So like I was expecting the gore, but I again was not expecting the direction that it ended up taking.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Does anyone else have like non-spoilery thoughts that they want to mention about it? Because I feel like it's kind of hard to talk about books with this type of twist without going into spoilers. So do we want to do some non-spoilers first?
There's some discussion questions in the back of the book I'm trying to see, but again, like you said, most of this is very like you have to talk about it.
Right.
I guess maybe just like her character from the beginning, she's kind of interesting because she's so like she knows what she wants, and she's so like calculating kind of, and sensible. Like you rely on her perspective a lot. Like you trust her as being reliable. So then that kind of plays in a lot with the stuff later on, because you sort of trust that she's going to do the most sensible thing in every situation she gets put into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that she is an interesting character from the beginning, and I do like her practicality and how she likes things to fit, like numbers and doing the books and that type of stuff. Like she likes for things to come out pretty, right? Like in that sense, where it needs to make sense to her. So I did enjoy that aspect towards the beginning. I will say I did not like how it was incorporated into some other things that came later, though. I didn't enjoy that part of it.
Yeah.
I can understand why.
Spoiler free. So
I feel okay. If you were to name a book or a couple of books that this kind of reminds you of, what would you say it was like? Because I'm curious to see if anyone else thought of the same book that I did.
Well, probably not, but the one that I told you about is like, it kind of reminds me of certain elements of Mexican Gothic, with like how, I don't want to say gory, because Mexican Gothic wasn't really gory, but it was very like graphic and kind of like gross at times. And then they also have the idea of like a Gothic house or a Gothic setting, and then a house that you can't really leave that much and you don't know who to trust. And like, They're very different, but I was thinking of that connection as I was reading it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
that's the
think I
first
was
one
as
that
well.
that's the first one that I thought that people would mention it as. And actually, I read a little bit that the author, or I guess that the publishing agency published it as similar to Mexican Gothic. I have strong opinions about that, but I can see certain elements being similar, especially the like getting to like halfway through the book and it just totally changing directions and being like, what, who and what now? And then another book I've heard a little bit was Rebecca.
Okay.
But I didn't actually read that one because I wasn't able to attend the live show, and that month for me was like terrible, terribly busy.
I wouldn't say these are similar to me at all.
Yeah.
The only way I can see it being similar is that with the relationship between Jane and Augustine being at the center of it, which there isn't really a relationship at the center, it's not like, yeah, at the center of Mexican Gothic. So I guess like not knowing, like knowing there's a side to the other person that you don't know and not understanding that and trying to, so I guess in that way. But I also didn't think it was that similar to Rebecca.
Well, it says in the author's notes in the back that she started writing this after she got out of the theater seeing Crimson Peak. Crimson Peak is like one of my all-time favorite movies with like aesthetics and the story and the Tom Hiddleston specifically. And like I can see we're not giving spoilers yet.
Do we want to give
something happens at the end of that movie? And in her mind, she wanted to do it differently. So she's like, okay, I'll write it as a book. You know what I mean? Like when you see a movie and it ends in a way that you wanted the opposite to happen. And so that was where she said this came about. And I was like, oh, yay.
Well, hello, Danielle. Hello. Had to catch up. That is awesome. But we are still in the non-spoiler zone, but do you guys feel like you want to jump into spoilers now so we can kind of dive into stuff? Okay, let's do it.
Let's just do it.
Do it. We're in spoilers now. Let me do like a
like a spoiler zone.
There. We're in spoilers, so now let's jump into it. What did you think about the fact that it was legitimately magic going on? Like, did you see that coming, or did you think it was going to be like fake?
I thought it was going to be fake.
Okay.
So did I.
Yeah.
I thought so too. I was assuming we would go down the route of the surgeon kind of being a little bit crazy and going that route with it instead of, nope, I actually am practicing magic on the side. What?
Or I thought it would even be a little bit like Frankenstein-y, where it's like, it's science.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where, I mean, it's like, it's something that you don't understand, but it's not, mythical or something. It's just painted it, but anyway, it was magic. So yeah.
I
felt like I know this doesn't make a lot of sense, but I felt like I either wanted less of that or more of that than what we were given. Like I want to know how these doctors really got into this. They're all like scientists. Where did this come from? Like I wanted, like, how is she able to work on this stuff at her asylum? Like I wanted either more or just like less, and there be like less magic involved at all. And it was just like, I don't know. It was I was on the fence there. I was like, give me either more or let's focus on something else, please.
When I saw that it was magic, I was just like, okay, we're gonna like have all of these like physicians together, and instead of like doing some like, oh, this is this innovative technology or like whatever, this like new treatment or whatever, it's magic. Like I was like, come on, really? Yeah. Like, no. Sorry.
You know,
like, come on.
I feel like I was kind of upset when they first were like, it's actually magic. I'm like, what? No. But then I got kind of used to it and I felt okay with that part of it. And I was like, okay, like, let's go this route. I did not really enjoy where it went from there, how she was just like somehow really good at this magic and they like incorporated the math stuff and like that was so weird to me. I didn't enjoy that part of it, I feel.
What about the time travel? What did you think? They were kind of like,
I don't know. It's wild.
Oh wait, that's a different spoiler. Never mind. I won't tell you what it reminded me of because I guess that's kind of a spoiler. But Sarah, you probably know what I'm talking about, right? The thing where you time travel to try to like warn yourself about something in the future. Think about stuff we watched together. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
Private chat me.
there's something on.
Well, I guess everyone else would see, so never mind.
If people are watching it, you know, like there's a popular TV show that they do that too. So I personally love that element because it was really interesting to imagine.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Her trying to like, but I thought that was the one because I like twists. So I thought that was like the one clever twist that I was like, oh, cool. I can see that. I like that.
So this comment, I feel that when you're saying like, I'm not smart enough to understand the math talk, I didn't think it really made a lot of sense.
Honestly, I thought it was babbling. Like,
okay.
It's
honestly,
not that you're not
like,
smart enough.
No, because like my no, like no, it did not make sense.
Okay, I was like, I also just kind of felt like it was a bunch of nonsense that she was like making up and somehow turning it into magic. And I was like, I feel like I'm a relatively smart person. I'm not a mathematician by any means, but this is nonsense. Like, you're just saying words.
No, there is like legit no way that math made sense because I tried to make it make sense and then I was like, come on, author, make it make sense if it's gonna be math. Come on, because math is like, you know, it's like a science. It's like there are rules and stuff. But there was like this one chapter where it was just like it was insanity. I was like, this is not math. This is not math. I did not learn this in calculus. I did not learn this in pre-calc. This is bananas.
Okay. Because I feel like that was one of my biggest issues with the book actually was the math stuff because it just kind of pulled me out of the story. I'd be like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? This makes no sense. And so I feel like that actually decreased my enjoyment of the book significantly.
Yeah. And you know, yeah. That was just wild. That was just wild. I was like, this does not make sense. I think I like highlighted a whole section and was just like, WTF. This does not compute. This does not calculate.
Right.
Which is disappointing because I actually like a little bit nerdily. Like because there are some, you know, like mathematical I don't know, contradictions and things that are really cool. And like if an author pulls that off and is able to tie that into something like, you know, supernatural or mystical, I think that's so interesting. But yeah, when it doesn't make sense, it just doesn't make sense. So
right.
Yeah, like I think like Dan Brown, for instance, he does it where he'll incorporate like little riddles or he'll incorporate math. I think he used I forget what he was talking about is it called the Vitruvian Man? And like all of the like angles. You know the Leonardo Da Vinci, I believe.
It's Vitruvian Man. Yeah.
So Leonardo Da Vinci, I almost said DiCaprio. I was like, he did not do this. He does stuff, but not this. He basically like has this image of this man and all of the proportions are like calculated and it's really lovely. And then Dan Brown makes sense of like sort of the mathematical component in a very basic, easy to understand way. But it makes sense. Yeah. And it's conveyed in such a way. I don't know if the author was just trying to implement it and kind of disorient you or kind of make you feel like you were going down this frantic like rabbit hole type thing along with the character, but I just found it very confusing and disorienting.
I also have a problem when somebody, as you were saying before, is brand new to something, didn't even know about it, but now all of a sudden they can do everything that people who've tried for years and years and years can't. And then there becomes like no limits. Like you're saying, like the time travel, the everything that happened with him and in the basement and all that stuff. Like there were no limits now to what she could do. And she had never done this before and known about it. So like and there wasn't even any references to like say like if there's something, oh, when I was a kid, these weird things used to happen. So like there wasn't even any clues that maybe she might have been good at this stuff in the past. This was the first time she found out about it, and now she could do everything. And there were no limits at all.
No, like she could literally bring someone back to life, which no one had been able to do before. Like it was considered actually impossible. And then she just like randomly does it and she even messed up the magic ritual she was supposed to be doing.
Right.
It's like she didn't even do that right. And still somehow she had more power than any of these other magicians who have studied it and done it for so long. Like that just seems so weird to me.
It kind of reminded me of like, okay, don't take this the wrong way because there are amazing ones, but it almost reminded me of like fan fiction and not self-fulfilling prophecy. What is it when you really wish you could do something like that? Like you write something that you wish you could do or be like, almost like Twilight stuff and things like that, where it's just like, it's so far, but it seems like something that like, because you wish you could be all powerful and bring someone back to life and do all of that. And like the way it was written, it just felt a little like, I don't know, like didn't vibe with, with me very much.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Self-insertion.
Yeah, like you wish you could do this. Like you could fall in love with this tormented man and like you can fix him and you all can be together and you can fight this magic and you're a brilliant mathematician and surgeon's assistant and like I don't know, to me it just kind of felt a little like it started to edge into feeling like self-insert fan fiction.
Yeah. I can see that. And I just feel like I've never loved the lucky novice trope. I think is essentially what you could call this practically the entire book. I just have never liked that. I don't mind it when someone is like literally born very powerful, but that didn't feel like what she was trying to convey here. She was trying to make it out that she could do these like magics that are more science-based magic better. And I just think that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because there's the sort of magic that you were supposed to have had to study to master. It wasn't like something that you were endowed with.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't like that either.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, no.
Yeah. So
get out of here.
That was my issue with that part of it. It wasn't that she was powerful. It's that the magic didn't fit her being powerful right away. Also, I wanted to bring up the scene where his friends came over randomly.
Oh, yeah.
How did you guys feel about that? Everyone just laughs.
I was just like, okay, leave. No. Like they were just like, no, I'm not even gonna leave. It's not my house. Too bad. Deal with it.
Yeah, it was like, what was that? Do people actually act like that? I was so confused.
That's why
I was also confused.
Yeah, like it felt like so like fakely scripted to try to get to where they wanted to go. With like, and why did that lady show her magic, like her notebooks and stuff? I was like, I thought it was supposed to be secret. Like, I don't know.
I just felt like it seemed, and this is possibly we didn't know his character well enough, but it felt like the way they were acting was very out of character for him. Like the way they acted towards him did not fit his character. Did anyone else feel that way? Our main character. Like their friends treated him like he was different than he seemed to be. And it might have been that like he had changed, and that's definitely possible. But it just kind of felt like they came to teach her the magic ritual and left. It was almost like a plot convenience, not like something that would actually have happened within the like setup that she gave us.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really buy it.
Yeah.
I would agree, but I think at that point it was early on, it wasn't early on, but like halfway through or something, where I thought maybe that was going to make sense if I knew some more context, but then it didn't really come to make sense.
You were giving it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I think I was too, and then no, context was it did not show up. Context did not show up to that.
I think that was also the point where I am like, when that other doctor showed her basically told her about magic, right? Like, I think that was when I realized, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna like this book that much. Like, I don't know what, because like it wasn't the magic element. It was that like, to me it had potential. Like it was starting to go Crimson Peak with like the ghosts at night in the hall and like the haunting of him and stuff. And I was down for like a gothic horror house where crazy stuff like I didn't even care if it got crazy. Like I was down for like crazy things to happen, it to be a nightmare house and all this stuff. But then when it turned into magic, and then like it like even the way they interacted, the like husband and wife couple, I just, a lot of scenes, like they would go from like, oh, she would go, I super trust him, and then she'd be like, I don't trust him at all. Oh, I trust him, I just have to believe in him, and then no, he has to. And it just all seemed like it I just, it kind of lost me at that point. I wanted it to be, and that's my fault because I shouldn't go into a book with like, I want it to be this. It's not my book, but like it went down a way that I was like, oh, I wish it would have stayed on this road a little more.
I like the first third. The
Yeah.
first like third of it, I was like, okay, cool. This is cool. There's like
good.
Yeah, there's like this surgeon, and he has this house, and ooh, what's there? And you know, like, will they love each other? Like, oh, I don't know. And then it ends up just being like, I don't understand. I thought I was gonna come here and be the only one that was just like, what?
No, I think this is a consensus. All of us were like, meh.
Yeah, just a little confused. Yeah.
I did read this pretty close to one or two sittings, if I remember correctly, though, but it was more because I was like, if I put this down, I'm not gonna pick it back up. Like I was like, if I stop, I won't care what happens next, so I just have to keep going. So yeah, I just kept hoping that it would, and sometimes it did. There were a couple of things that were, like I said, I liked the element at the end. I actually had to go back and read a couple of things when it explained who she thought was the wife, but was actually like a version of her talking to herself, or like trying to warn herself, or whatever was happening. Like I thought that was cool. So that was a little bit of redemption at the end that I was like, oh, neat. I like that.
Yeah. I do actually kind of like how it ended, how it came about at the end. I did actually like that. I think it was relatively satisfying and like weird enough and stuff. I was like, okay, like that was kind of cool how she pretty much like brought him back to life in her own version.
Okay, if somebody if somebody could explain this ending to me, I do not understand what ended up happening.
That's the point.
Yeah. At some point, I just
Didn't
I
get
don't
it.
know. It was wild. I didn't understand like what happened at the end. And I think I need time to process things, and I finished this last night.
I finished it a few weeks ago, and I feel like I've already forgotten quite a bit, which is kind of sad because it wasn't that long ago. But I feel like what essentially happened at the end was when she finally got down into the tomb, she like found that he had already died. And so
Yeah.
everything that was happening was not really like actually him doing it, right? Like the sacrifice and like the magic things that they were trying to do in order to fix the mess that had been made, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't actually him because he had died. And somehow she used the power from the, like, what were they doing? The ritual that they were
Yeah, the ritual.
performing to bring him back to life, but it wasn't like a true resurrection. It was like a
It brought back parts
version
of him
of
or a
him.
version of him, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
but
like
it-
an improved version or something that just had like these gaps or something.
yeah, so like she brought back a version of him, but like people wouldn't notice the difference unless they were versed in this magic, and that's why she was nervous when that doctor, the mental health doctor, came, because she thought that she would see it and notice it, but the doctor was only focusing on her. She didn't
Okay.
notice him. So that was what I thought happened at the end.
No.
Did anyone else have a different interpretation?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Okay.
it could be wrong, and I wouldn't even be surprised.
That's
I
sort of
thought-
what I
yeah.
was thinking as well. They were reborn, but without certain flaws that they had before, but not
Yeah.
so obvious that it would be immediately apparent.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that she brought them back, but it was like improved versions with like gaping holes that other people couldn't see. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of how I
Eh.
felt. It wasn't very clear, just like most of the book, but
No, thank you. Appreciated.
I bet the author, if she watched this, would be like, "That's not it at all. Like, you didn't get it."
Well, to me, like, it
So,
almost
yeah.
reminds me of, I'm not trying to be harsh or anything, but like, you know how sometimes things are vague and it allows you to like really be interested and go back and reread it and like delve into and try to figure out all the little things that happened, what they said. I felt like this is what was trying to happen, but I don't think it was done masterfully enough to allow that. I think that it almost seemed like the author was just trying to make it work as well. I mean, I could be wrong. Some people might like absolutely be obsessed with this and go back and find all these little things, but to me it was like I don't think there was enough there to really, I don't know, I don't know that it, like you said, I don't know that it felt like there were actually like solid rules and ideas and things like that.
Yeah. It's almost like she was trying to make something that was based on rules and kind of a scientifically based magic system, but she didn't really execute that. So I feel like you can have soft and very broad magic systems, or you can have ones that have rules, but when you start trying to mingle them and it just turns into a mess, it just makes neither of them seem like clear or believable, in my opinion. Like, I feel like you kind of need to execute it better if you're going to put rules and rituals and things around your magic system.
Yeah,
Reading it, you have to sort of know what can be done and what can't be done, and because you don't, it's annoying to read, and like the stakes aren't high if anything can happen, like if a character's in a dangerous situation and they can just do absolutely anything, then you're not afraid for them because you don't understand the limits of the magic, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So just anything can happen.
The fact that the ritual didn't work, she didn't like
Yes.
it, and then she still managed to do it. I'm like, so then what was the point of you saying that the ritual didn't work? Just to stress us out or something? Because like, I don't understand.
Trying to find exactly which chapter this is, but like,
Yeah.
just this is. Oh, sorry. Let's read.
No, I think that's totally true, because if you make a magic system that supposedly has bounds and then all of a sudden there are no bounds, it kind of feels like you're not, like, you don't care, like you're not invested, because nothing's going to happen if she can just randomly do it. And I agree with Angela. It really did bug me that she messed up the ritual, so the ritual did not work, and it didn't matter. Like, apparently that was like a third of the book was her trying to complete this ritual, and that was poor pacing, I feel like, in my opinion. that section there was extremely boring to me. Her trying to get through this ritual, I was not really that into it. And then she failed, and then there were absolutely no consequences of her failing that ritual, and she still was able to do exactly what she was trying to do anyways. So I was like, why did we go through like a couple hundred pages of you trying to complete this ritual? This was pointless.
Also, it was impossible. What human body can do the things where you don't sleep for that long and you don't eat until you only
can't
eat
even do that
like you
on
can't
amphetamines. Like you just
do
can't.
that. You physically will fall asleep. You can't keep yourself up like that. Like,
Apparently, cocaine will let you do anything in this world.
yes, because
I was like, what is this? Come
Doesn't know
on!
anything about cocaine can safely dose themselves with it.
I was like, what is this? Come on. Is that just like, what?
that's
No.
what I mean. She didn't feel real. Like I was like, you can't do that. A person can't do that. And then again, like it didn't work, and she still was able to do. She just didn't seem real. That's what I mean when I say it almost feels like a fantasy like thing. Like, oh, I wish I could do these things, because like it's just not possible.
Coke makes magic stronger, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Right? What? Oh my gosh.
And I think
Yeah.
like my biggest issue that I wanted more of, not my biggest, but like an issue, is that as the author said, like she wanted these people to end up together. And it was supposed to be about their love story. And I just really didn't fit. You got like a couple of scenes with them together. And when they were together, it was really weird and awkward and like just it. I was like, if you're trying to get me to, but like as you said, the pacing, like she spent all this time on this ritual for this guy that she only just now decided that maybe she trusts, who knows, like if you're gonna go through this, could have been really interesting as far as like the romance element if they had actually invested a lot of time together, because like even when they slept together the next morning,
my
because
gosh.
of all the stuff, remember she was like, oh, this wasn't you, like it turned out bad also. So I'm like, how are you going to expect me to believe that you're going to potentially die to save this guy and his house and his like all this stuff? Like you're going to potentially die for him when you barely just decided that he's worth even being around. Like I wish there was a lot more invested into their relationship to get me to care about them first.
And like
to believe that she would do that for him.
And like it's just like, I don't know, like she just like felt this like je ne sais quoi towards him, and I was like, so what? Because and then at the end she has this improved like version of him that comes back, right? So then he has these like holes where she didn't know him. I'm like, well then he'd be like, I don't know, like what is that cheese that has the holes
Swiss
in them?
cheese?
Yeah, then he'd be like Swiss cheese, like, because you like, how do you know this person based off of reading the books? It drove me insane. It's still driving me insane. I'm not over this.
No, I agree. I feel like I wasn't invested in their romance pretty much at all, because like I think it was the day after they had been together, she said something along, or like thought something along the lines of, well, now I can't even annul this marriage because like it's officially been consummated. So now like I'm stuck, and I'm like, and so I'm supposed to root for this marriage that now you're just like thinking you can no longer annul. Like, why should I be invested in your relationship that you now just are like, well, dang, I guess I'm stuck now.
But there's this
bad choices
pull,
last night. I'm like,
this pull that he has towards, and I'm like, oh my, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. But okay. I feel like with Mexican Gothic, there were so many, like, it was a lot deeper. Let's be honest. There was a lot more that we could talk about. But I feel like one of the main social issues that it didn't really address, but that was very prominent in this book, was the fact that a woman literally could not move unless she got married. So I think that was kind of our main social issue that we had here. It wasn't very much addressed, but I feel like that was that a thing in the 50s? Like at that point, was that still, or like, is this another timeline bend? Because I was like, I feel like in the 50s,
I didn't understand that either.
You could have stayed, right? Like if that was what the timeline was, that shouldn't have been a problem, or am I not understanding the 50s well enough?
No, you're right. That's another thing that was, what is that word that people say? Not making sense with the time period, or with like, it felt a lot earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, you're saying that this was in the 1950s? Oh yeah, you said it was during the war?
Well, if
It was like post-war
after World War-
England.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I
Because even
know.
like
That's why I didn't understand the
Crimson
time
Peak,
either. I didn't understand the time. I was like, is this the 1800s? Because like in some ways that's what it feels like. In some ways it feels like the 1700s, and in some ways I was just like, what?
Yeah, not
And
even
I know they were drawing off a lot of like Gothic, like classic Gothic literature comes from, a lot earlier, the 19th century at least. But still, like you could, like Rebecca is a Gothic novel that is set in the mid 20th century, and it actually feels like it's in the mid 20th century. So like you can do Gothic and still have it situated in different time periods.
Right, and
I feel like this kind of sums up the book. It was all vibes, no thought.
Yeah.
Like, when you actually try to talk about it, you're like, yeah, this was not well done. But I do feel like at first the vibes were definitely there. And I also feel maybe right at like towards the end as well, the vibes kind of came back. But I feel like the vibes in the middle lost me. Like the middle part was just not well done. Like the execution was quite poor.
Did not vibe with that part of the book.
Yeah, like I liked the beginning, and I kind of liked where it went in the end. I was like, that was a cool twist. Okay, like that's pretty interesting. But like, what was the middle of that book? And the end was still also weird, but the vibes were much better, so I'll accept it.
Yeah, it had a lot of potential.
Was in the 1880s, it says, or in the early 1900s. So like late 1800s, early 1900s. And if she was basing it, because the way she describes this book is the same way that like they dress and act in Crimson Peak. And so there's no way that it could be the 1950s, because this was late 1800s, early 1900s. But even then, I wonder if what you said is true. I don't know. I'm thinking of like, I don't know, like Rose in Titanic. Like, no, she couldn't really do things on her own either, and that was 1912. So
But
maybe
rich, right? So like rich women had different standards, didn't they?
Yeah, but I would almost wonder that if you weren't rich, you would especially not be able to be on your own. Because she seemed like they were from a wealthy house.
Yeah. Because I mean, okay, and I know this. I know that Bridgerton is not historically accurate. But
you sure?
Like the working women in Bridgerton could be on their own, but like the high class women could not.
Yeah, then if that's the case, and she was like,
like
an accountant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's sort of like a kind of ambiguous in between character, because she it sounds like she was brought up in a higher class family, but she had been orphaned, and so she was like their ward, and so she wouldn't inherit from them, so had to work for herself. So she was kind of like a little bit on the edge of, that's how I was reading it, that she had been like, she had grown up kind of alongside of some wealthier people, but had to work for herself but I don't know. I feel like a lot of things, I don't know.
It didn't really, there's so much about it that did not make sense. And I feel like the author almost just expected you to just go with whatever she said, not question. And just like it didn't work,
Well, that's what I mean when I said I almost wanted less of like the rules and expectations, because I have read some horror books where like things are wild and there's no explanations and you're just on the ride, the vibes, the everything. And this could have been that. Like if it would have just been like, hey, this is what it is, you're on this crazy road. But then it was like, it was trying to make sense for you of things. But that's what I mean when I say like either more or less, like they kind of clashed. Like if you wanted me to just go on a wild ride where nothing makes sense and you're just on the journey, then it, in my opinion, like I feel like it needed to be done a little differently.
I just Googled too, and I might have misled when I said the 50s because I just Googled it and people are saying Victorian era, which would be the 19th century. So it is earlier. But then I don't understand the reference to her being sent out because of the bombings. That doesn't make sense now.
Yeah, I know.
But
I didn't understand that part either.
It does say alternate version of Victorian era Britain. So
I legit think that it's not in a set time. It just draws on elements of certain time frames because, like, how can you have those two happening at the same time? And then maybe it is during a set time, but I don't know. I just kind of put my hands up and say, like, whatever you wrote, that's what it is, and it just confused me.
Yeah, I think you were supposed to just be able to interpret it however.
I think so.
I don't think yeah.
I think so.
I also felt like as we went along with the story, it kind of felt like everyone we're encountering knew about this magic, right? Like the dude that had the growth, and then they said that they thought maybe the woman with the baby, they're like, we don't know, potentially. Then like the mental health doctor, she has like a whole place full of that. Like, is this magic extremely common? Because she makes it seem like it's a huge secret and like no one can do it successfully, and it's like this big thing, but then it kind of feels like everyone is involved except the dude who like drives the carriage back and forth to get the doctor. Like that's the only guy who's like out.
Yeah. And
I don't know. Everyone's just like, man.
You keep asking questions and we're like, I don't have an answer.
I don't
I don't understand it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I have a feeling that if somebody really loved this book, it would be because as they had said, like the vibes, like not really the thought behind the book, but they would like the vibes of it. But
yeah, the atmosphere and the goth, like it's definitely situated in gothic and kind of gothic horror genre.
Yeah.
And as I said, if you want that, just go watch Crimson Peak because that's all of that.
I have to head out in about 5 minutes. I'll just give you a heads up, unfortunately.
Well,
so
let's wrap this up then. We can totally do that because I feel like we have said about what we can say about this one. Like there's not much depth to really get into, and we've talked about the things we don't like, and so yeah,
my only thing I wanted to add, well, not wanted to, but I just thought of is like, this is such an amazing cover, and it makes me so sad because I'm like, I don't even know if I want to keep it, but this is so beautiful. Oh,
it's true. It's like the
totally agree.
Can I object? I actually don't like the cover.
Oh,
it's creepy to me in a way that I don't find aesthetically pleasing.
Oh, I was like,
I'm sorry. It is.
I also find it creepy.
Yay! Yeah. Thank you for joining in our confusion.
Also, I don't think a bone ring is romantic.
Oh gosh, no! Oh my gosh, yeah.
Why do I want someone's bone?
No, thank you.
It's their bone, Angela. Why wouldn't you want their bone?
Because it wasn't even her husband's bone. It was somebody else's bone. I'm like, I don't want some random person's bone.
And it wasn't even like his real bone.
I don't understand it either.
It was like an extra growth of bone. It wasn't like, ooh, this came from his femur, which is at least normal.
It's ew. No. Like, we don't need that. Oh no one does. Like, no.
So gross. And then it was so romantic. And I was like, how? What is happening? Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Is she wearing them bones or something? Or
they drink each other's blood, apparently. I saw that the other day. I was like, okay. Not something I needed to ever know about.
I got issues.
Maybe
Teach
like
their own. Apparently, it's romantic.
intimate blood donation. I don't know.
But swallowing the blood doesn't get it into you. Like, anyway, we're not going to go there. It's
We're not like
I
that's
know.
just
This is just so like okay.
okay. Well, I don't feel like we necessarily need to go around and ask whether this is top shelf or not. I'm gonna just make a blatant statement that none of us think it is. And if anyone disagrees, please speak up.
Actually, just kidding. No.
Like,
I was going to
kidding.
say that would be a really funny.
and you were like, actually, this is the best book I've read all year.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
It'd be like the opposite of what I did with Cerulean Sea.
No. For me, this felt like, I don't know. I loved Mexican Gothic. There was a lot of weirdness in there. There was body horror in there. There was just, interesting scientific applications. But she had studied like epigenetics and she had studied fungi. And I feel like you could kind of tell in the book that there was some kind of substance there, and I was just like, yes, yay, I love Noemi, woo. And then this one just was like, did you do your research in this? And did you put this together? Who read this? Who approved this book? And so, yeah, no.
This made me appreciate Mexican Gothic more.
It's true.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, that was way better.
Yeah.
Nice.
It is true.
It's like, this is hard to execute. It actually is. And so, yeah. Gothic horror is hard to execute.
Yeah.
I still keep trying though. Like, if there's any others, if anybody has any recommendations, I'll still keep trying till I find the right thing. But so far I haven't found one that I find enjoyable. I mean, I would hate Mexican Gothic, but I didn't really like it that much.
Yeah. I do think I am really attracted to that kind of aesthetic, the Gothic horror, claustrophobia, you don't know who to, yeah.
Agreed.
Did you Plain Bad Heroines? Because that's
me.
Yeah, you're the only one I know that's right.
Because you know how it was so different in different sections. I did love the sections that were set at the boarding school. So I do love the Gothic horror vibes. I love it. It's just I also think please don't kill me because I love other books by them, but I don't like the writing of this or of Mexican Gothic. There's just something about the writing that doesn't seem as masterful as I want it to be. And that's my personal thing. I don't know. I would just read it and it seemed a little more not as I guess masterful is the only word I can think of. I like the very flowery, intricate things. So, or Daphne du Maurier, the older writing. I like that kind of writing. And these didn't work for me, but like you said, Plain Bad Heroines, I liked those parts and stuff like that. So I do
like the writing in Orquídea de Vida. I can't remember whether you did
that yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I haven't read that yet, but I have it. I can't wait to read it because I think I'm gonna like it.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to cut this off so Laura can go.
Yeah, I'm
sorry,
thank you guys everyone.
So much for joining, and we will see you. Our next our next book is going to be The Last Thing He Told Me, right?
Yeah.
And our next live show is going to be on May 29th. So we'll see you guys there. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for hosting, Stephanie.